Okay.
Okay, we are now recording, and I want to welcome everybody to the first Monday Zoom session for June 2023. I want to just have a few new faces here, and for the few new faces, I just want to set up a few things. Michele is brand new here. She got invited. I got notified that she got invited, and she showed up. And her person who invited her hasn't showed up yet. So hopefully Bill will arrive soon. But some of the stuff that we're going to do here is new and fresh, and some of it is a little bit repetitive, maybe things you already know, but things that we want newbies to know. Okay. So we will have new people coming along sometimes. So there's going to be a little bit of repetition. Hello, Quartertone.
Hi there.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good.
Good, you're good. So today we're having a very fun-filled, information-packed session because Mark is going to give his talk, his instructional video on conversational recording. I think that has to do with character voices. And he's going to show us hopefully how to differentiate between characters. And then Quartertone, I love your picture, Quartertone. It's exactly the way I envision you. You know, techie guy, outer spacey kind of guy. And he is actually quite techie, and he is going to tell us, he's going to give us a tour, as I understand, of the word count wiki page. And especially, he's going to explain how he uses, there's a script that you can float over a Gutenberg text, and you can tell how many words are in that text without copying it and pasting it over to another program. And I do that all the time, so I'm quite fascinated with that. Looking forward to it. And then Mary, excuse me, I have to blow my nose. Mary, who I was expecting to be here, but she had an emergency. She brought up the idea of, what if we stopped recording at noon, and anybody that wanted to continue to hang out for a little while, we could just like visit without it being official. For example, before I started recording, we had another young lady, Rita Boutros, popped in for just a minute to say hello, to make sure that her phone, she can't be at the meeting, but she was at another meeting, and I could tell there was things going on in the background. And I asked her, she said, well, I go to these quilting meetings every Monday. And she said, I'm a textile artist. And I was like, well, we'd love to hear about that. When we stop the tape at noon, we can talk about the rest of our lives and things we like to do. How do y'all like that idea?
Fun.
Sounds like fun. I mean, I'm interested in every single one of you. I want to know every detail.
Phyllis,
because y'all are all fascinating people, every one of you.
You've got Phyllis online. I was wondering how your sound's coming.
There's Phyllis. Hello.
Hi. I hear everybody fine. You hear me?
I can hear you very quietly. Right. And then we can hear, let's see, Rich. Can we hear you?
Yeah, I talked earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't notice. So, okay. And Mark, I know Mark has already talked. And Michele, are you finished eating?
Excuse me, my coffee's ready. I'll be back.
I've got one more piece of toast. Sorry.
One more.
It's very delicious.
As long as we can hear you and you can talk, you don't have to put a video up there. So without further ado, we're going to get started, and I'm going to invite Mark to talk to us about character voices.
Okay, so can I share my screen?
Yes, you may.
Okay. And where is my app? Oh, there it is. Okay.
There you go.
It worked. Okay. So these are tips on creating character voices. I mean, first of all, you don't have to use character voices to do a good narration. It's more important to act the individual characters than to create individual distinctive voices for each one. So should be the second part of a good narration. The first one is really representing the character's attitude and whatever, as opposed to creating specific voices. There are some very, very successful professional narrators who have won more awards than I've recorded books who don't use them at all. But for somebody who wants to use them, they can be a lot of fun, and they can also hopefully add to the listener's experience to the audiobook and not detract. Okay, so I wasn't sure where to put this, so I thought I would put this as a character voice, and that is cross-gender, because we all have to deal with this. The first impulse I think most people have when they have to voice a character that is not their gender is to pitch their voice. And that's okay, but it's limited. So if I try to use a very deep voice, of course it sounds fake, but also you'll notice it's very flat because my voice has run out of range.
Mhm.
And that's a danger. You lose the expressiveness of a voice by trying to do a cross-gender just strictly from pitching your voice. But here's a couple of ideas that you can try applying that will hopefully get across cross-gender voices without excessive pitching. So you're a male, I am. I need a voice of female.
No, it's not possible. You can't do it.
I can't do it, but I can do something. I can at least suggest that I'm doing a female voice. And I'm not going to do it by using a falsetto, and I'm not going to sound like a Monty Python character. What I'm going to try to do is add some air, because the biggest difference between male and female voices isn't necessarily the pitch, but it's the resonance behind it. So I'm going to try to eliminate that just by adding a bunch of air. So it's kind of like a loud stage whisper. Now, it's not entirely convincing, but you can tell the difference between my voice and this voice without having to use excessive pitching. Okay, so that's going in that direction. If you're a female and I'm not, and have to go the other way, again, trying to accomplish that strictly by pitching your voice down like this, it's going to sound fake, and it's also going to get very tiresome and tiring. Now, I've heard this suggestion. I think it's a good one. So this is something you can try out, and that is adding vocal fry. Have you ever heard of vocal fry?
Mm-hmm.
That is where you just get a sort of a rasp right on the edge of your voice.
Rough.
Rough it. Yeah, you rough it. So a female is not going to be able to get the resonance of a male voice, but you can get this character. There's a former LibriVox volunteer, Exie Sands, who has gone on to be a very successful professional narrator. She does this brilliantly. So if you want to check out what this really sounds like with a woman doing it, check out Exie Sands. Her first name is spelled Xe, and her last name is Sands. She has about 10 books still in the catalog for LibriVox, but you can find her on Audible. It's done hundreds of books. So it's vocal fry instead of pitch. There's a second thing, and again, you have to be careful because you don't want it to run contrary to the actual character, but typically we males talk a little flatter than females do. So you can use that as well. So to do a female voice, not just add some air, but also a little more music. So I'm not going to hit you over the head with this voice, but I want to suggest it so that if I'm doing a male-female dialogue back and forth, you can hear the difference without getting on your nerves. Okay, that's cross-gender tips. Now, doing unique character voices. One can always rely on stereotypes. And the advantage of stereotypes is somebody hears it, they'll immediately understand what it is. And for example, trying to do an old lady that sounds like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never met an old lady that sounds like that. I think I've seen some in old cartoons, but I've never actually heard someone who talks like that. My mother's 88. She doesn't talk like that. Today happens to be my father's 94th birthday. He doesn't talk like that. This is a way to create character voices without relying entirely on stereotypes, although they can have their place. And if you're doing a children's book, sure, go wild. First, seek hints from the text. And this is to avoid simply making a voice for the sake of making a voice, so that it actually has some connection back to the character. And yes, you'll have to pre-read the text before you do this. And I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but you do need to pre-read the text so you can find these clues, because sometimes they're not in the character introduction. You don't catch them till much later in the text. So seek hints from the text of what this person should sound like, and then select some vocal characteristics. I will suggest you try 2 to keep it simple, because you just want to suggest the character, again, not beat the listener over the head with it. So just some examples. People talk faster, slower, with a lot of energy. They're ponderous, musical, flat, soft, and there are other things you can think of. But pick 2 characteristics of a voice to create the voice. Here's the big tip. Then you find a real source that sounds like that and try to imitate it. It can be anywhere. It can be a movie character, it could be somebody you know, somebody you see that you don't know in the public, and you hear their voice and go, yeah, that's what this character should kind of sound like. And then try to mimic that voice. But you don't have to be good at it. In fact, bad imitations make good characters because they're unique. So you don't. It doesn't have to be a brilliant imitation. It just has to get the flavor of what that character is. Again, look for two characteristics of the voice and concentrate on those. This will help you. So by doing this, it gives you something to focus the character on, so that it matches the character, not just the character voice, but the character, and also helps you maintain consistency, because you may have to maintain this voice for a 10-hour book, who knows? And it should sound the same at the end as it does at the beginning. Okay. I'm going to illustrate that very quickly. So I have a voice that I call old man, which is, okay, I guess I am one. So someone 6 months older than me, say, really old. The features of the voice are, it's very airy. So I don't do the crackly thing like a cartoon, but it just has a lot of air. And there's also a cadence where it's almost like he's run out of breath and can't quite catch his breath. And that is what I call old man. And it's a voice that's distinctive. It's easy to understand. It's very important to do character voices that people can understand. If they're too good or too out there, they'll be going, what'd he say? What was that? And that will really break up and destroy the listener's experience. So it's understandable. It's also very easy on my voice. I can do that voice for hours without any strain. So that is an imitation of a voice. Any idea who I am imitating?
No.
No idea at all. I'll give you a hint. Once in my youth, I came across a vomit-flavored bean, and since then, I have lost my taste for them. Somebody got it. So who was it?
Dumbledore?
It's Dumbledore. Yes.
Ah.
And so I can keep that
That's
image in my
right.
head
You're
whenever
right.
I'm doing that voice. And it's not just the voice, it's also that pattern where he would just hitch once in a while.
Good idea.
Okay. So that is a way to, without a whole lot of work, create unique character voices that you can maintain, that will add to and not necessarily step on your audiobook narration.
Mhm.
And that's it. It's that simple.
Wow.
Questions?
I have a question.
Yo,
Am I seeing a white screen? Mark, are you sharing a white screen?
I am sharing a white screen because I ran out of slides.
Okay. Sorry.
Hello, Bill. Welcome.
Hello.
Glad you made it.
Well,
Any other questions?
someone hadn't changed the link address, which was okay. I'm here. I'm happy.
Anything else?
Yeah, one simple question in a way. I did Three Men on a Bumble some years ago, and you've got there three men approximately equal socially, roughly equal age, roughly equal educational background. And I couldn't differentiate. I couldn't think of any way to differentiate between them. How would you do that?
Any other hints from the text?
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, it's some time ago.
I mean, one easy one is pace. One talks more slowly, and the others talk more quickly. So it doesn't have to be really exotic, because all you want to do is differentiate the voices in a way that you can do consistently, and so the listener can understand. And three is a little tricky, but that's one way to do it. Simply change the pace. Also, some people talk more flat, and some with more music.
That one I'll have to go at. Yeah, that I can manage. Yeah, I'd never thought of doing that.
Mhm.
Yes. I mean, the one I had most fun, generally speaking, when I've done them, I have not a lot of trouble, but you as you say, you've got to define your characters. But the one that was easiest was one where it could be a caricature, like in Alice in Wonderland. You can really play with the voices, and you don't have to worry about how authentic, how human they sound, which is quite
right. Well, and as I mentioned at the outset, if you're doing a children's book, oh yeah, bigger's fine.
So it doesn't matter more if you go over the top with what you're doing.
If you go over the top and you're doing a long book, you will get on the listener's nerves. Because I've had that experience where I'm listening to an audiobook and I'm going, oh, could you just tone it down? You're giving me a headache. I get it. Okay. Anything else?
One of the things that I did once, I read this book of short stories. And so for each story, there were different characters. And I know I went over the top. I know I definitely did. But one of the things that I found difficulty with was remembering, if I recorded, a half-hour section one day and then came back later that day to continue the story, or even the next day, I thought, wait a minute, how did I do that voice? And so what I did was I made like little 10-second snippets of each voice, so that before I read it again, I would listen to kind of remember, oh, okay, that's how I did that person.
Yes. Good idea. A lot of narrators do that. Just a little reference lines.
Right.
And sometimes an easy way to do that is when you read the first line for that character, save it. So that you can just come back to it easily.
Right.
Okay, Mark, I have a question for you, because you do read for LibriVox some, and you have to be DPL'd, proof listened. And sometimes when I read for LibriVox, I try to do character voices, and sometimes I listen to a lot of other books. And from the reader's point of view, when you're being PL'd, do you want your proof listener to point out when you pop out of the, you're using the wrong voice? Like, right here, you're not speaking with the character's proper voice.
Sure, and I would say yes. That's not the normal charge for our proof listeners. But if you tell them, yeah, if you hear my character voice is drifting, please flag me, because that's something in a studio environment. That's something a director will do.
Right.
That's the wrong voice, and I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading lines. I'm going, wait a minute. I think I just switched characters.
Right. Yeah, I've done that myself.
Now I've completely blown the reason for doing character voices, because now the listener's really confused.
Right. Yeah. So you're doing that. You're doing your reader a favor if you point that out, but Librivoxer is really not supposed to point that out.
Well, it's not part of their charge, but if you ask them to, they may be willing to do it. Same thing with mispronounced words. They're not expected to look up words, but if I mispronounce something, I appreciate them telling me. I'll let them know.
Okay.
We could always offer it up the first time we notice it happen as a courtesy PL note, that if it means something to them, we noticed that they changed their character voices in a wrong place, and take the cue of their response for how you would continue PLing for them for the rest of the book, if you're asking Michele from the PL's point of view versus the reader's point of view.
Right.
It's really better for the reader to ask first off, if you hear me doing something weird, flag it, please.
Yeah, that's good.
I have heard the suggestion that when you develop a bank of character voices, if you can do about 6, you could pretty much cover with variations almost any voice you're faced with down the line. For example, I've got my old man voice. I can make it even bigger, or I can back it off a little bit. So I take my bass voice, and now I've got 3.
Sure.
So if you have 6 essentially good voices that you can do and are reliable, you can also add little variations, and you don't need to always be creating new ones.
So is this a good place to introduce accents?
Accents are next time.
Oh.
Next time will be instant accents.
Instant accents. That's what I need.
Accents for dummies.
I can do Southern real well because I grew up in the South, but otherwise accents are very difficult for me.
And they are hard. They are harder than character voices, and that is what I will be covering on
Next
July.
first Mondays. Good for you. Thank you so very much.
Okay.
And I would like for you, if you would, to post. You could do it next time. Post. I know you said you had all these in one place, that you're doing these for us piecemeal, but that you also have all of these tips in one place. Obviously, you have your PowerPoint presentations. So I invite you to direct us to that.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Okay, in the next one,
Okay.
or at least in your last one. Okay, thank you so
All right,
much,
thanks.
Mark. Okay. So anybody else want to talk about this before we move on to the next presentation?
Mark's just so good at that. I think I'm going to start driving my husband crazy trying to develop secondary voices to be able to rely on.
Yes.
Walk
and
around the house talking to him like somebody else for a while.
Yeah, and you'll know you're doing it well when you get your first death threat.
And so one of the things Mark said that really struck me is to read the text ahead for clues as to who the character is. That's one thing most people don't do. Not only do they not read ahead, they just, including me, jump in and just start reading the chapter and have to go back and correct stuff later. But if you're doing a group project, especially if you're doing a group project, you could have like happened recently, you have a shy, soft-spoken person as the main character, kind of wounded character. And the first section is read by somebody who didn't read the book and reads him as this robust, outdoorsman coming up. And it just seems like it just can't be helped when you're in a group project.
Yeah, that's difficult. Because I mean, personally, if I want to just offer to do one chapter in a book, I don't want to read a 10-hour book to do one 20-minute chapter.
Right.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Of course.
But it can also get you into some real trouble. And this happened. There's people are familiar with P.G. Wodehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So he's got a series of, I believe, 4 books. The main character's name is spelled P-S-M-I-T-H.
Yeah.
And you know how to pronounce that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the P silent. Well, that isn't exposed until chapter 3. And a number of readers pronounced it P Smith all the way through, even though the P silent. So it can get you into real trouble if you don't pre-read.
So there's that, and then there's, as a BC in your first post, sometimes I've done this, a pronunciation guide, like something with Theodore Roosevelt. I was like, pronounce Roosevelt, not Roosevelt. I asked everybody, I gave them a pronunciation guide.
Yeah, good idea. Any last parting questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very
See
much.
you next month, and have a nice month. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
You don't have to leave, but you can if you want to.
The dog needs work walking.
Okay.
Michele,
Great.
Michele Fry. We have 2 of them now. Is this going to be the only and henceforward link to the first Monday Zoom sessions?
It's always been since I started doing them. Yeah, it's in the announcement form. Did you click on the one in the announcement form?
I finally found it. I mean, finding the announcement form was not trivial for me.
You know what? It was amazing. I just clicked on the link that Michele has put in her sig line.
I did that too.
And that made it that took me straight to the post that has the link. So that was great.
That's a good idea. I forgot I had done that, but yeah, I only keep it. I have other stuff I like to put in my signature, but for the week before the Zoom session, I do that. I put that in there to help y'all out a little bit.
Super handy.
Well, I have my desktop that we've used well, not hints, but in the past. And all I do is click on that link and it brought me to this. I did that today and I'm off in Wonderland all by myself. And the room looks a lot like my room, but okay. Nonetheless.
Okay, Bill, your volume is very high. Could you turn it down just ever so
I'm
slightly?
sorry.
No problem. No problem at all.
What I do for all Zoom calls is as soon as I see a link, I copy it to an email to myself and stick it in a folder of Zoom things that I'm going to be attending later. And as soon as I go to the meeting, then I delete it.
That's a good idea.
So it's just in my email program.
Like seminars and other things you could attend. That's a great idea. Okay, so Michele, have you been on a Zoom session before? Michele Eaton.
I've been on one before, yeah. It's just
because I recall you.
Yeah, I used to work on Mondays and I've given that up now. So I used to work because it's 5 o'clock in the evening here.
Okay.
So I used to work from 3 in the afternoon till 7 at night. So I just couldn't do it. So I did one when I was off on holiday one week, or it was a bank holiday. So.
Your face is familiar to me, so I hope you can make it now. We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Okay. Especially those British accents. I'm so jealous, Peter.
I don't know about that. Well, I'm in a place called Manchester,
Manchester.
so
North
I've got that proper up north accent. Where are you, Peter?
London.
Peter.
Yeah, so
Peter.
we're in almost opposite. Well, we are almost opposite ends of England. So
I
yeah.
haven't got a classical London accent because I went to school in Suffolk, which has sort of softened my London accent.
Right.
Still very
But
charming.
we sometimes like to have a go at or I like to have a go at the accents, but my London one's not very good.
So
My
next
best
month
one
we'll
is
do
my
accents.
Liverpudlian.
Yeah. I can't wait till next month where he's gonna try to give us some places to go to quickly brush up on your accents. That would be nice. Okay, so it's 11:30 and I'm hoping Quartertone is ready to start his little presentation. As a prelude to it, those of us who BC projects, which I think is most of us, to set up a project you have, or even if you just want to do a short story, especially like for the short story, for the coffee break collection, you find a story, you say, how long is this story? You know, how many minutes? Can I fit it in 15 minutes? Or if you have a book and the chapters are ever so long, you say, well, I can't fit this chapter in an hour. I have to break it down into 2. You have to do word count. You have to be able to assess how many words are in the text. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And Quartertone and I have been spiffing up the wiki on word count lately. It's been there for a long time and he's added his stuff and I added a few things. And he's going to give us a presentation of that page because it's so important. Oops, looks like he left. No, that's somebody else came.
Welcome in.
Welcome in. Hello
Can you hear me
there.
okay? Everyone hear me okay?
Yep,
Hey
hearing you
there.
fine.
Okay.
Can we
So
hear?
I'm gonna share my screen with this website here.
Okay, go
So,
ahead.
let's see, share screen.
I'm going to run get coffee while you're sharing your screen. I'll be right back. Don't do anything without me. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that being shared? Can you see it?
Yeah, I've got that.
All right. So this is the LibriVox word count page, I guess. And it used to be a little bit less organized, but Michelle and I kind of cleaned it up. It's got a bunch of information about what various methods you can use to count words in websites and other documents and things like that. There's these websites that you can go to that have pretty good accurate word count tools. And so for these, you would have to copy and paste the text from whatever you're wanting to count and use those tools there. And then also obviously you have your document editors like Word, Microsoft Word, and Google Docs and everything. Usually most of those have built-in word counters, and so you could probably copy and paste in those if you prefer to do that. What I did was I created a script specifically for Gutenberg, and I called it Gutencount. Clever name. And so I guess before I go into how to install it, I'm just going to show you, kind of demo it and show you what it does. So I'm going to open up a new tab here and go to gutenberg.org. And so let's see. So let's do a quick search. Search for sci-fi. So what the script does is it pops up this little question, says, do you want to do a batch word count? And I'm going to click OK to show you what it does. If you wait a bit, all these little word counts pop up underneath every single topic, every single title, so that you don't even have to do anything. These word counts, the way it works, it takes the plain text version of the titles and parses the text between the so for example this here parses the text between the I used dark mode, so it's kind of weird looking sometimes, but the text between this start marker and that end start marker or the end marker, which is this guy here. So it says start of project and end of project. It takes all that text and counts it, and then puts it right in that, right underneath the little cover icon. The other part is, I think you might have seen a preview, is that well, first I put these little links that are useful to me. I don't know if it's useful to anybody else, but I like to download the EPUB file and put it on my Kindle, and so I put that quick shortcut there. And then I put also the HTML version because I also like to use that to kind of preview the text as well. But that's just shortcuts there. If you go into the main page of each book, so let's, I guess, use this for example. It'll also put that word count there. So if you missed it in the first round, you can find it there. The really cool trick comes when you open the text. So if we open open this version here, it'll put this the word count right in the corner. So if you missed it in the first 2 rounds, you got this round here.
Wow.
And so it'll count all the words there. It's depending on what's in the text. So sometimes there's this contents, or there might be transcribers notes, or picture captions that might cause a little bit of variation with the text, the word count, but usually it's pretty accurate, or pretty approximately accurate. The one other feature I put in is that if the text has chapters, and the chapters are properly formatted, you can actually click on, let's say click on this guy. If this little heading is properly formatted, it'll select the text of that chapter or section and count it. And so you have here 1,200 words there, and then letter 2 is 1,300 words.
No kidding.
So it's a quick way to count those chapters, as long as they're formatted correctly. So if it's if the HTML, if the code in the text has the HTML header tag, then the script will detect that properly, or usually properly, and then count the text between that heading and the next one.
Okay, so you clicked on HTML5.
Yeah.
But
so
what if you clicked on HTML4,
the as submitted?
Does it work
the same.
there?
It should work the same. It still does the word count, and then I think this one also still has the chapters, and so you can still do the chapter counts.
Okay,
but it just has to be properly formatted. If you use the text, I don't think the text has it'll still count the words, because the start and end tags are still there. Right. And so it'll count them, but because it's not formatted at all, it doesn't really, it's not going to do anything there.
Okay.
And then one other small feature is, if you wanted to find out how many words like a particular passage is, you can just select that, and then it'll tell you how many words there are there. So it's an all-in-one word counter.
So even if they did not format it properly to do the shortcuts, we can still highlight chapter by chapter.
Oh yeah. So if you have this letter here, you can highlight that letter there, and you get 1,200 words, which was approximately what the other version had.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's how it works. And then as far as installing it, I actually made 3 ways to install it. I went a little overboard. So basically all of them are actually, most of the methods are, that's not true. Only one method is kind of listed on the word count
wiki
article, right? But the rest of them are on my website, which you can get to by clicking that link there. It's the vox.quartertone.net. So we'll just go there just to show you what we have here. So there's 3 ways you can install the Firefox extension, which is what I'm using currently.
What if you don't use Firefox?
If you don't use Firefox, then you can use the Temper Monkey version. This is a kind of an extension that's available for Firefox and Chrome, and I think Edge and Opera and other browsers, and so it's pretty universal. And so you would install the TemperMonkey version and then install the script separately. But I put together like tutorial videos on YouTube that you can kind of check out to see kind of the process of doing that. But
Great.
basically, you would just install the TemperMonkey script and then get the Gutencount script from this place called Greasy Fork, and then it works essentially the same as the extension. It just kind of hangs out in the background to wait for the Gutenberg website. The third way, if you didn't want to install anything, or if you didn't if you just wanted more control, is you can install it as a bookmarklet, which is you just kind of click here and it automatically selects that text. And I think for Firefox and Chrome, you can both. You can just drag that text right up to the bookmarks bar. So we'll do that here and do that, and then you can name it and you go word count.
Who knew you could do that?
And so now we have this little shortcut. Let me just. I'm going to turn off the extension just so that we can experiment with this here. Turn that off.
And then you have
So now the extension is not running in the background. And if we reload this guy, reload the page. Oh, come on, what's happening? There we go. So I reloaded the page, and that little box isn't there. And so if I wanted to say, okay, I want to count this page now, we just click on this bookmarklet, and it'll do that. And it's all the functions with the extension are still present in the shortcut, and so you can select the text, you can do whatever, and it'll still count it properly.
Oh my goodness!
Lovely piece of work.
I am
Fantastic.
mystified. That's amazing.
Save a bunch of steps for sure.
Yeah. So, and also same with the HTML version. So if you didn't have the extension in there and you just wanted the shortcut, you can still click that and it'll load that up, and you can still count the do the chapter count. So I want to count chapter 21 and click that guy, and there you go.
That is so good.
That's
so
amazing.
Good, so good.
Yeah. So hopefully this will be useful to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Microsoft Word. Eat your heart out.
Yeah. Right. And the other thing is, I found that some of the word count methods that the websites use, some of the websites, and I think possibly some of the word processors don't process the M dashes properly. So that's like the let me see if I can find one. So in the regular text, it's represented as two hyphen, like two dashes. So it's like a longer dash than a normal dash, and it's meant to separate two ideas, right? And so it's like he said something, blah blah blah, and then there's the dash, and then it's another idea, but it's not there's no space around that dash, and so some programs count that as one word as opposed to two words separated by the dash.
Okay, so what I'd like to say about that is that we're getting approximate word
I know what I'm saying. I know it's all approximate, but I like precision.
Some books though, they have excessive use of M dashes.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, what I mean is if you're going to pick something to read, whether it's got 2,000 words or 2,030 words is not as important as whether it's got 4,000 words or 6,000 words,
Yeah, and it does count all the like the transcriber's notes and everything, and so it is all approximate, but just as a side note, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the Gutenberg books also include the page number
Mm-hmm.
in some versions, which
and that'll mess with the count. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me pause it right here because Stephanie just put up a chat and I tried to read the chat and it disappeared on me. So while we're doing other presentations and people put up chats, I just clicked on chat and I got the whole list of chats. Okay, I feel better. If people want to know about hyphens, M dashes, and M dashes, I know some stuff. I
Just
presume
very specific, I know.
I presume you're volunteering to tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm.
Is quartertone finished now?
Yeah, that's
Yep,
my.
yep,
Oh.
I'm all done. All yours.
M dashes drive me
That was
insane.
good.
I hate them. I hate the way they touch the words they're supposed to be dividing. It's like they're pulling them together instead of delineating two separate concepts. So that's just a personal pet peeve of mine, but the world is not going to change because I have a problem with that tiny little thing.
If I
So,
were given the world,
wow, we've even got other chats. Somebody said my go-to word count speaking length website.
Michelle.
Mhm.
What?
That's-
I didn't see it before.
well, you didn't have chat on, I guess.
I did have chat on, but I was looking at the presentation. So I guess you're also volunteering to give a presentation on that at some point. All right, I'm ready for Stephanie. And then
Okay.
William, you're queued up.
No, no.
So-
no, but I learned in the Air Force, do not volunteer.
Well, you just did.
Stephanie has the floor.
Okay. All right.
Good.
There we go. Be careful what you
So-
chat about.
Yeah, so a part of this I learned about from a professor who was very picky about this. And then I also took one short course on setting type, which was really fun. So like actually from the cases, and then you print it, which is really fun
Oh,
and a
wow.
lot of work. So, and that's where the N dash and the M dash come from, is that the M dash is the width of an M, and the N dash is the width of an N. And I'm sorry, I can't have my video on right now, but the power's out, so I would look strange. So there actually is a difference in width, and actually, like in Microsoft Word, you can make a difference in the width of the dash. And if your proofreader is good, they will catch that if you're publishing things and the like. But basically, the difference is that, yes, M dashes are meant to separate ideas. They're meant to make a stronger offset, like you would offset a phrase in commas, or you would offset an idea in parentheses to kind of say, well, this isn't as important as the rest of the sentence. It might be explanatory or something. But if it's between M dashes, it actually heightens that importance. So that's what an M dash is. An N dash actually has a few very specific meanings, and it's used to designate
Hyphenated words, right?
not hyphenated. Hyphens, yes. N dashes. If I said hyphens, I'm wrong. N dashes specifically have to do with like the 16th through the 18th. So if you see 16 N-18, it means 16 to or 16 through, which sometimes you can know from the context and sometimes you can't. So like if you use it in a date, that's an N dash. Or if you're using A through M to show, that this is where people with last names A through M should go, and this is where the rest of the alphabet should go, that's the dash that you would use, is that N dash. So it has a very specific meaning. So when you actually come across it in your books, it actually means something, and you can try and figure out what it means in the context to be able to read it. Yes.
Sounds good.
That takes some thinking. The hyphen really is just at the end of the line if the word's too long, or if it is
A hyphenated word.
A hyphenated word, or more than one word used as an adjective, where the two have to go together, then that's a hyphenated word. So there's no special way to read that particularly, and there's not really any particular way to read the M dash, other than that it often designates a pause because it is a new thought or highlighting the importance of a particular phrase. But that N dash is really fun because it allows you to figure out, oh, this is what they're actually meaning here, not just random hyphen or random dash in the middle of the word. And my power just came back on. So anyway, I don't know if any of that was helpful, but
everything's
fun.
good to know, and it makes sense because the N is narrower than an M. So
Stephanie,
Yes.
Is a phrase set off with M dashes like an appositive phrase?
I don't know what that means, so maybe, but you'd have to tell me what that is.
All right, trust me, that's what it means.
Okay.
So
Maybe
Bill, I'm here looking at your chat. My go-to word count speaking lengthwise is then you give a web address. I'm going to invite you to go, not now, but later on, go to the wiki and type in word count and you'll get to the word count page. And then, you know, all of us are allowed to edit, add to, improve the wikis on our wiki. And you can add this. We have a list of all the different ways to count words, and you could add your selection to it if it's not already there.
Okay. But
Okay.
it's so simple for me because I'm a simple person, you know, no education, no nothing. That if I have some text that I want to have a word count and a speaking time count, I
Oh
can
yeah, speaking time.
and drop it in, and it gives me both the word count and the speaking time, fast, medium, or slow. So for me,
Okay.
that's very handy for breaking things up.
Speaking time, though, isn't that different for everybody?
Well, they give three options: fast, medium, or slow speakers. And remember, this is all an approximation, a
Mhm,
guide to breaking things up into sections.
mhm.
And it's for me, when I reduce my raw text with a 10% tempo reduction, mine comes right out perfectly, almost every time on the speaking time value.
Mhm. Interesting. Well, I'd be interested in checking that out. So I copied it down. I got the thing in my notes. I'll check it out. And either you could add it to the wiki or I could do that for you if you'd like.
Please do. But what I came in late, I was tardy. I was on the old original link to the Zoom session.
Oh, you know, at the top of every forum page, there's a link that says the LibriVox wiki. If you go to the LibriVox wiki, there's all the things you need to know about LibriVox is there on the wiki pages. You just have to know what search terms to use. If you use the search term word count, you come to the page that Quartertone just showed us. And it has a list of all the places we know of on the internet or other people that have piled in on that wiki years ago have given all the suggestions we can put together on how to arrive at a word count. And this, I don't know if this one's on there or not, but what intrigues me about your presentation is that it can give you the speed at which you read. I got to check that out.
Okay.
I just looked at the word count page and it's not on there, so it could be added.
Okay, so we can add it in, and then maybe Bill could give it. Usually with the one we have a little short description of what it does, so maybe you could provide that, Bill.
I'll
Send it
send
to
you
me. Yeah.
a paragraph on how I use it.
Okay, that sounds really good. Okay, guys, we got 5 minutes left, and we have 5 minutes for brags. What's anybody got to brag about this time? Come on, Lynn.
I'm really excited because 2 long-term projects have come to fruition yesterday, and they're just one's waiting for the final chapter PL, and the other is waiting for the MC to catalog, and that is the dramatic reading of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's coming
going on a
as
long
soon as
time.
Rapunzelina gets the cataloging finished.
Mhm.
And the other is, just a solo.
Okay. Okay. I
Let's
have
do
a
a
quick
duet.
brag. I got to brag. We got to move along. Yesterday was my 10th anniversary with LibriVox. So
Oh, cool.
10 years. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
So let's see. And if you go to in my signature, it says the June Libriversaries. If you go there, you'll see you'll see a whole rundown on who's been here forever and the longest. So
I have a
proud of that
separate
bit.
brag that's kind of related, but that would nobody would care about other than Michelle.
What?
Which is that I'm working on that script that's going to help you automate your anniversary list.
Mhm.
It's actually almost done, and it's actually pretty accurate. So I'm kind
So
of
that's it's really putting the Libriversaries page together requires going through. Oh well, I'm not going to go into that right now because I want more. I want the other brags. Come on, brags. Give me
I
some
have one
brags.
flag. This afternoon, I will PL the last raw audio in my solo of Elmer Gantry. by
Oh,
Sam
okay.
Lewis.
Cool.
God, it's been
That's
such
good.
a long time. I had a
What-
6-month break due to getting death COVID back in January.
Yeah.
Oh,
This afternoon, and it's shipping out.
yay.
Okay. Now I see we've got this Jasna Maria. I would like to hear from you. I can't pronounce your name. Can you hear us?
Her audio is muted,
Oh, okay.
or his audio is muted.
There we
Well,
go.
there you go.
I have nothing to brag about. My name is Jasna Maria Bukasovich Perovic. I come from Chile and I am a PL.
Oh, UPL. Good. We need those.
Yeah, I'm Del Camara.
Okay, well, welcome and hope
Hi,
to see you
Jasna.
next month, okay? We hope to see you here more frequently. Peter, what are you working on?
I'm just about to do the last section in a little book about it's essentially a series of 12 essays about life in a little village in West Sussex. And that's, you've got one essay for each month in the year.
And what time period?
What do you mean? When was it written?
No, what time period is it describing?
I would say late 19th century.
Okay.
Something like that. Funnily enough, I should have checked. It's by a man who was the vicar of this little village, and the book itself is a sort of semi-fictionalized. So he hasn't named it after the actual village. He made up names and things like that. And I assume he made up most of the people just on the basis of his impression of them. So I say it's semi-fictionalized, but it gives a lovely feeling for how the village held together, how the people interact.
Because I'm very interested right now in finding books that describe what life was like. How did people live? How did they work before the Industrial Revolution? Before industrialization.
No, it is definitely since then.
Okay.
I don't think I've done anything from that period earlier than that. I rather like the Victorian area because, I mean, having done the first volume in Henry Mayhew's London Labour and the London Poor, which is a hefty 47 hours or something like that.
Oh, Lord.
But that was fascinating.
What is the name of that?
Well, that one, London Labour and the London Poor, is the I say the Victorian one. It's
I write it down. I'll look it up.
Gill, that's right. I was trying to remember who the other Gill H was my proof listener for that first volume, or most of it. And she liked it so much that she then went on and did volumes 2, 3, and 4.
Oh,
Which is incredible. I was her proof listener for the last volume, but it's an enormous amount of work. It was an enormous amount of work, but they're wonderful books because they're mainly interviews. At least the first 3 are mainly involve interviews with the people concerned. So you have interviews with beggars and pickpockets and people that work down the sewers, the toshers.
Yeah, that's the kind of people that interest me.
Yeah,
I want to know what people used to do.
Yeah.
So, okay, I want to brag about one last thing. It's really important that I say this. If you go to off topic in the forums, there is a scintillating talk beginning to form on Chat GPT. Okay, and how that's going to affect voice recognition and
Oh, yeah.
audiobook recording. But in addition to that, I'm really listening to like Jordan Peterson talk about it, and Lex Friedman interview people about it. All the big players who are working with it, using it in their work, and
Wish had some links to those talks.
well, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm telling you. Is I'm going to be posting links to some really fascinating podcasts that that bring the usefulness of this to the foreground. I've been very afraid of it, but the more I listen, the less afraid I am, because it's
So
going
it
to
looks
be
like that
so
thread
useful.
was locked by admin.
Oh, well, I don't
Apparently.
know. I haven't been there lately, but I will
I
go and
just
look at
looked
it.
and it was locked on June 2nd.
Well,
What does that mean?
wonder why.
Mhm.
We have to start another one because it's really, really something that it's in off topic, so we should be able to.
What does locked mean, please?
Means that nobody else can post comments or post more on that specific thread. But like Michelle said, you could just start a new thread and start the discussion over.
Thank you.
That's got controversial in some way.
Apparently someone thought it was.
Yeah, that was the reasoning given, is that it started to get pretty heated. And so
Thanks.
I haven't been there in a couple of days. It didn't seem heated to me, but anyway, thank you for coming, and don't go away. I'm going to stop the recording, and then if anybody wants to keep talking, we can talk about this. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming.
A pleasure.
Stop the
Got my tea
recording.
to get to.